In this video, we're going to be talking about tapping. And tapping is one of my favourite subjects because, as you will discover, tapping can be used to release all kinds of blocks that up until now have been holding you back. Now, tapping's actually been around for about 40 years. You might have heard of it as being called EFT or emotional freedom technique. Today we're just going to call it tapping because, as you will discover, we're literally tapping on the body's acupressure points. Now, if we think about emotion, we think about those things that are holding us back. People often say to me, why is it that I feel the way that I feel? And it's a good question and one that I'm going to come on to. But the way that tapping actually works is by directing the kinetic energy to clear the channels. So if we think about our body, we often see our body as being very physical, but actually we're really just made of energy. And we've got energy lines that are running through the body. Now, if you've done yoga, you might have heard of the energy that runs through us, which is called the chakra system. And off the chakras, we've got meridian lines, which is actually what acupuncturists use. But today there's no needles. And when we're tapping on the body's energy system. And the word emotion itself actually comes from the Latin energy in motion, emotion. An emotion at its most basic form is just lots of different chemicals like electrons and neurons and protons that are just vibrating at a different frequency, and we've just learnt to interpret those as feelings. Now, if you imagine an emotional scale, and at the top of that emotional scale, you've got feelings, you've got emotions such as joy, excitement, anticipation, love, gratitude. And those kind of feelings, they're very much in flow. Those kind of feelings make you feel good. They lift you up, they light you up. But those emotions that are lower down the scale, such as fear, guilt, shame, betrayal, hurt, they come from the amygdala. And the amygdala is part of the fight and flight response. So those kind of emotions are very much about survival. And when we stay focused on those, they become very draining because we're living in the hormones of stress. So what we're doing with tapping is we're tapping to clear the channels to enable you to move forward. And people think about emotions as either being good or bad, right or wrong, positive or negative, but really they are just about vibrations moving through the body. So before we actually demonstrate the tapping routine, I'm just going to explain why our emotions can get stuck in the first place. So people will say, why is it that I feel what I feel? And more importantly, why do I keep repeating the same emotional responses? And I'm sure that we've all been there where we've walked away from a situation and thought, oh, why did I do that again? Well, the truth is that when you experience something, especially when high levels of emotional arousal are concerned, the body takes notice. So if you're in a situation where perhaps you feel a little bit threatened, of course your body's going to take notice and it's going to record all of that data. How was I thinking? How was I feeling? How did I respond? And all of that information is sent into the unconscious mind. Now, the unconscious mind is running the show probably about 95% of the time. And we need it to be able to do that because if we had to remind ourselves to breathe, there would be no life on Earth. And the unconscious part of us is processing around about 400 million bits of information per second. So it's able to work very fast. So when we're in a situation, we find that we automatically respond based on pattern. Now, the unconscious mind is strictly habitual. So if you're in a situation, like say public speaking, one of people's greatest fears, and it feels threatening, then you're just going to produce the same emotional response that you've produced time and time and time again. So what we're able to use EFT for is to direct the kinetic energy to change that response, to clear those channels. Because when we're able to change how we feel about something, then we're also able to change how we think and how we behave. So luckily with tapping, no matter what it is that you're feeling, that you're experiencing, we can use tapping to help release those feelings so that you can move forward. So a couple of things to just keep in mind to get the most from this result. With tapping, what we have to be is tuned in to how we are feeling. Because remember, it's the emotion that we're working with. So maybe you even want to start to think about something now that's potentially bothering you. And it doesn't have to be a big thing. Maybe it's just something that, I don't know, a colleague said to you that's just still getting under your skin. And I find that it can be really helpful to just put your hand on your heart. If it helps to close your eyes, just shift that focus of attention away from that busy mind and to just drop into the body. And just take a few moments to tune into what it is that you're feeling. Now, quite a lot of people are very disassociated from what they're feeling. And if that's you, then relax. You're not alone. If you grew up, for example, not being able to express how you felt, then you might find yourself being a bit disassociated. If you're holding on to a lot of trauma, it might be that you're a bit disassociated as a form of protection. And also, if you've been experiencing feeling anxious for quite a long time, you might find that you're quite in your head and you've become quite disassociated from your body. And that's okay. Practice makes perfect. So just take the time to know that there's no wrong, there's no right here. So just tuning into your body. Because your body's got its own intelligence system and it's going to tell you, it's going to communicate what's what. And then whenever you've got that feeling, or if you're working with pain, as you'll find in one of the videos, and I want you to just name what it is. Even if you have to guess, that's okay. Is it hurt? Is it rejection? Is it anger? Is it confusion? Is it frustration? And again, just let it be whatever it is for you. And then notice whereabouts in the body you can really feel it. So quite often people feel a lot of emotion in their chest, which is why their chest feels quite tight. They can notice a lot of emotion in their stomach, in the depths, in the pit of their stomach. Maybe you feel it in your neck. But again, just notice wherever it is for you. Where's it most present in your body? And then I want you to imagine a scale of 0 to 10. 10 being the most that it can be, 0 being the opposite. And if you were to take that feeling, where would you put it on a scale of 0 to 10 right now? Not where it was yesterday or when it first cropped up. Where would you put it right now? And just name that number. And then I'd like you to just think about how would you describe that feeling? If it had a colour to it, what colour would it be? What kind of texture does it have? Does it have a shape to it? So it might be, just as an example, that you feel angry and hurt, and it feels tight and it feels stabbing. And you feel all of that in your chest. But again, just let it be whatever it is for you. And so once you've identified what is the feeling, you're tuned into that, you can describe that, then we're able to start tapping on it. Now, there are a whole series of tapping videos that you can tap along to. So in this video, I'm just literally demonstrating the tapping points for you. So when we start to tap, we always start to tap on the side of the hand. Now, it really doesn't matter whether you do it on your right or your left. I just use my right hand because I'm right hand dominant. Now, when we're tapping very, very lightly. Because remember, we're not really tapping on the physical body, we're tapping on the emotional body. And your emotional body's got its own sphere of energy that's emitting outside the physical body. So we're just tapping very lightly. So we always start at the side of the hand. And what we do here, as you'll discover in the videos, is we create what's known as a setup statement. And that setup statement always starts with even though, and it finishes with I choose to accept myself, or I choose to forgive myself. So as an example, let's say that you had a bit of an altercation with a colleague and it's still annoying you. Let's imagine that maybe they talked over you in a meeting and you're still feeling quite annoyed by that. The setup statement would be, even though Joe talked over me in a meeting and I'm feeling really angry in my chest, I choose to forgive myself. And that's all that we're doing. And it's important that we finish the setup statement with I choose to accept myself or I choose to forgive myself, because what that does is it gets over any psychological reversals, which simply means any reasons that we have for holding on to the emotion that we feel. So we're basically saying it's okay for me to feel this. So once we've created a setup statement, and you'll learn more about setup statements in the other tapping videos, we then start to tap on the top of the head. Now again, very, very lightly. In fact, if you were to do this with the palm of your hand, very lightly on top of your head, you could probably already feel the energy that's being emitted from the top of the head. And then you can either use 1 or 2 fingers, whatever feels right for you. We're going to tap on the corner of the eyebrow. And then on the side of the eye, again, very lightly, very soft touch. And then under the eye, under your nose, your chin. Now this next point I'm going to demonstrate for you is the collarbone point. So if we take the collarbone, it ends about here. If you were to come down about a centimetre and come in a little bit, there's a bit of a squashy bit here, which actually, if you were to really press, hurts, but we don't want that. So we're just tapping on that part. That's it. And then the next one might make you look a bit like a monkey, but that's okay. We're going to literally lift the arm and we're going to tap just in line with the nipple. So where your bra line would be if you're a woman. And then all we're going to do is we're going to tap around the nail beds So just on the sides here, and then just here, here. And there you go. There's the EFT sequence. So side of the hand, top of the head, corner of the eyebrow, side of the eye, under the eye, nose, the chin, collarbone, under your arm, and then just around here. And what we're tapping on are the ends of the meridian lines that are sending an electromagnetic signal to the amygdala to calm everything down and to be able to release that energy, that emotion. So as I said, you'll find lots and lots of videos contained within the tapping zone. And as with all things, tapping is just something that comes with practice. And the more that you practice using this, whenever it is that you need to just calm things down, you need to release emotion, release pain, release blocks, you can just find yourself reverting to this technique. And I've been working with tapping now for about 8 years. And trust me, its ability to release emotion never, ever, ever fails to amaze me. And I use tapping on a regular basis on myself because I know if I'm feeling something, I don't need to hold on to that feeling if it doesn't serve me. And often it takes less time to tap away an emotion than it does to make a cup of tea. Now, a couple of things to just keep in mind, that when you are tapping and you're releasing emotion, it's quite often, depending on the intensity of the emotion and how long that you've been holding on to it, that you might feel a little bit sleepy afterwards. And if that's the case, that's absolutely fine, because actually the body's natural healing response is sleep. So just bear that in mind if you decide that actually I'm going to have a big clearing session and I'm just going to clear out all of these feelings that I've been holding on to, a bit like clearing out your closet or your wardrobe, that you might actually find that you need a good sleep afterwards. Drink plenty of water, because again, once you're releasing something, you're taking the body out of the stress response. So it's good to keep the body hydrated. If you find yourself yawning when you're tapping, again, that's perfectly normal because you're releasing stagnant energy that might have been stuck in parts of your body, parts of your muscle for a really long time. So, have a look at the tapping videos contained. Follow the instructions and just start to get comfortable with tapping and experiencing what it's like to empower yourself with this deceptively simple but amazing technique so that you can take yourself and your life to places that maybe you never thought were possible until now.